G'day, everybody. Dennis Carnahan.
Hello.
Chris Gale.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, myself, Stephen First. This is Fire Up the Quiet Australian, and we're joined today by. It's a very special sort of irregular sort of segment right now, and one that I'm looking forward to immensely. We're welcoming Mick Liubinskas with us right now. Good afternoon, Mick. How are you going?
Pretty good, boys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, a little bit of background. Chris, would you like to take it away?
We were talking on a recent episode of Fire Up's Quiet Australia about matters pertaining to rugby league, which is unusual for us. And for some reason, it came to my mind that there was a game in the 1970s involving the Western Suburbs Magpie, whose colours I'm proudly representing today, and the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And there was an issue with a player who had played reserve grade maybe and then came on to first grade, scored a try, and it went from there. I'm referring, of course, to the Liubinskas Affair. Mick, there are so many stories here, and we just said we had to cut to the chase. I had people like Greg Cross and Rick Yabsley coming at me from all angles. We went to the source. What happened back in 1975 at Belmore Oval?
Well, boys, this was a planned event. I had a coach back then, a bloke called Don Parrish, my first grade coach. Don had a plan to use me as a strike player or a strike weapon in the second half of the Canterbury game. So he made me play reserve grade that day, and I did come off the reserve grade about 10 minutes to go. So the idea was for me to go have a shower, have a bit of a rub down, put a fresh set of gear on and sit on the bench for the call which came from Don. And during that week, we had a planned move, and the planned move was obviously a run-around type situation with dummy players going through and me going through one way and a couple others going the other way. And the player who gave me the ball was a player called Chrissy Wellman, who came from Cronulla. Now, it worked to a T, because all I remember is going through this hole. I had I think it was about a 90-metre run, but it was about a 25-metre run to the line. And I know the fullback coming across was a bloke called Gary Dowling, a great player, Gary. And he grabbed me just before the line, but I'd managed to dive over and score the try. And that consequently drew the game 7-all.
Three-pointer, of course, in those days?
Three-pointer, yep. Now, the game ended up in a 7-all draw, and I remember after the game, in the old days at Belmore, the doggies had these hot baths, so you can go in there and have a bath. And I come back in the dressing room, and there was all this hullabaloo and bullfrog more, and there was a lot of this argument going on. And someone said, "Well, he's illegal," and I'm going, "Well, hang on, I'm just following orders. You know, what do you do when you do what the coach tells you to do?" So run through that hole, score the try. That's what I did. So, but yeah, unfortunately, the league didn't see it that way, and I was supposed to complete a game in reserve grade, which I did. I just come off 10 minutes to go.
Yep.
But I played reserve grade. So, but that point has always been missing. We missed the semis that year because of that particular point missing.
So Mick, no lawyers were involved in this?
Not that I know of. I think it was a Phillip Street thing, and as you know, the Magpies have always had issues with Phillip Street. That's where the New South Wales Rugby League was. So,
is that interesting that Sydney University Law School was in the same street and you still couldn't sort this out? Does the statute of limitations apply here? Is it too late to go back? Because as I understand it, that meant that Western Suburbs ended up in a three-way tie for fifth position with Parramatta and Balmain, and ultimately went on to miss the playoffs. Is that right?
Correct, that's right. We missed out that year because of that missing point, and it's still missing. And there was a famous columnist called Mike Gibson.
Yep.
And he wrote a great column the next day about the missing point. And apparently, Mike found out that it was actually taken by some rugby union people and held in captivity.
So Mick, yeah. Carry on, sorry.
Mike's column outlined these. He said that the person who rang in was a person in a tweed coat with patches on his sleeves. So he must have been a rah-rah.
Well, we have a great distaste for rugby union on this show, Mick, and that's just reinforced it. And Rick Yabsley tells me that you meet around the time of the game every year and look for that missing point. Is that correct? For lunch?
Well, we try to. We have a lunch, and Rick's been gracious with his partner Shannon Kavanagh to put on this lunch, and we have this lunch at various venues throughout Sydney. We actually had one in Cootamundra one year when I see Les Boyd. But puts on a great lunch, some great stories. Both those guys are Western Suburbs fanatics and great supporters of the club. And we have a great lunch, and usually by the end of the day you can't remember anything because we've had too many reds and we just toddle off to our own place. But every year there's some special invites. We've had some luminaries there and had some great lunches for sure.
But there must be some bad blood, Mick. There's got to be somebody you hate that you're targeting all that venom, all that vitriol towards ever since that day.
No, mate. No, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Come on, you must be taking some delight in the family club as the dysfunctional family club right now at the foot of the table, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs.
Well,
surely.
yeah, they're not travelling too well, but we got them in a couple of weeks too, so they didn't go too bad last week. No, but look, the thing is that that's the way it is. Unfortunately, I'm just happy to have this infamy in regards to this point, which I can have a lunch every year and get on the programs like yours.
Yes.
And now it's very exciting for me, Mick, because this is a story that I often tell, and I might have it slightly clouded. And I wonder if it was in relation to this game, but of course, Channel 7 used to cover the Sunday match of the day. And I remember you coming on and Rex Mossop saying to his sideline, Barry Ross, I believe Mick Liubinskas is on. Barry, I understand he's of Italian extraction. And he replied, no, Rex, he's from Wollongong. Now, have you heard that story?
No, I'll have to. I can take it up with Barry Ross because Rex is not around.
No,
but my heritage is Lithuanian.
That's what I figured.
And Mick, that explains the lover, not a fighter, right? The Lithuanians, great lovers.
We were bad bastards, the Lithuanians. We actually ruled Europe in the 15th century, so we were the middle of Europe, so we were bad bastards.
So all that therapy certainly worked. The Dragons.
Yes, they won 11 straight in the 1600s. Yeah. If you're speaking to Barry, Mick, one of my other favourite comments of Barry, I think, was the 81 grand final when Newtown took on Parramatta and they let off smoke bombs. And Barry was caught in the middle of a blue and gold smoke bomb on the sideline of the SCG. Yeah. And Rex goes, you having a bit of trouble there? Barry goes, yes, Rex, lucky it's not Agent Orange. Now,
famous quotes.
Now, you played in what I like to refer to as the blood and thunder period of the mighty West Magpies at places like Lidcombe Oval. Did you have a run at Pratton Park at any stage?
Mate, I did. I actually played quite a few games at Pratton Park. My first game was in the Jersey Flag Grand Final where Western Suburbs Magpies played South Sydney, which was another critical game, which was, we believe we was robbed again.
Yeah.
Scored one try and kicked a goal. Lost 6-5 between, they kicked 3 goals. Had 3 tries disallowed. The crowd was ropeable. The referee just barely escaped off the ground.
Can we name names?
But we were but Pratton was a great place to play at. But Lidcombe Oval was the cauldron where Roy, as we know, made that our home ground, and we wouldn't be defeated at Lidcombe Oval.
I imagine when you get together, what we used to get together with the dearly departed Arthur Summons, you'd be able to talk about We Was Robbed stories across the history of Western Suburbs.
Well, I think now that Arthur's gone, and unfortunately Noel passed away a couple of weeks ago. Noel was adamant in the 63, and he always said it, that bastard, that referee, stole the game from us.
Was it Cole Page?
No, Darcy Lawler. And a friend of mine has named his son Darcy, and I don't talk to him anymore. And Stephen is a St George fan. He won't brook any discussion of this. Now, you played with some of the greats like Tommy Raudonikis and Dallas Donnelly, but I believe your favourite player from the era was John Snoozer Elford. Can you tell us a bit about Snoozer?
Johnny Elford, Snoozer. Now, Snoozer got his nickname through Noel Kelly because Noel used to pick him up on the way to training, and he was a truck driver, Snooze, and he used to have a snooze in the truck and then go to training. So that's where he got his nickname. But yeah, John, when I came to grade, I was a fresh-faced 17-year-old, and I played with John Elford, who had a reputation, him and Jimmy Cody. But Snooze was just a great bloke and tough as they come. I mean, when you got him in your side, you know, you feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and it was just the same because he would do things and take people on without hesitation. That's how tough he was.
Mick, a couple of questions. Did you ever cross paths with Bumper Farrell?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Any stories to tell?
No.
No.
I'm lucky because I ran into him at the Sands Hotel at Narrabeen one day because I used to knock him out. I used to go surfing at Narrabeen and knock around with a few blokes there, and Bumper was there one day. But no, I know he had a reputation, but maybe he was a nice bloke.
Yes.
As far as I know.
Yes.
Obviously a reputation.
You've read the book?
Not yet.
No, you should.
Which one?
Now, I've got a question. I'm a Dragon supporter, not because of my dad, but because of my father. And I think rugby league and fathers, there's a lot of things that pass through from one generation to another. My dad used to take me to the cricket ground, didn't wear his colours. He was a Magpie supporter. Originally in Newtown because his father was, but then switched to Western Suburbs when they moved to Concord West. I didn't know that, so I just saw the Dragons coming out and winning, and as a gullible kid or an impressionable kid, I went, right, the Dragons, or the Saints, as I knew them, they're my team. How did you get involved with rugby league? What was the beginning?
I actually played Australian rules first up.
Wow.
Through my best mate, and his father played for the Swans, and he started a little junior team up, which lasted one season, Southern Districts, and then ended up playing with Liverpool City because I played at school. In those days, I had the weight for age.
Yes.
And I played 16 sevens and ended up playing with Liverpool City, how I got involved in rugby league, and played with blokes like Jeff Gerard and Glenn West and Stoles and I, and those sort of guys in those eras. But it wasn't until I came to Concord, I came to live in Concord, that I got ingrained in the Western Suburbs Magpies because Concord United was a pretty famous club in this area, and a lot of players went on to play with West. So we'd play juniors and jump in the back of a ute and go shooting out the Lidcombe Oval on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and watch the game.
That was the game.
Our coach took us out there.
Well, that's a different route.
So it was,
yeah.
It was a natural progression, I suppose.
Yeah. Did you live in Concord?
I've been here for 45 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Because my grandmother used to say that every time, for a period of time, that Don Bradman used to walk past the house and she'd say, good on you, Don, do well. We always thought she made it up. And then we looked in the books and he lived on Concord Road, 2 doors up.
There you go. Yeah, no, we've got a few famous people in Concord. Andrew Bogut lives here now. But we've got a few gangsters moving in the area. I know that.
You can sort them out.
Now, if we jump forward to the present day, Mick, you're a director of West Ashfield Leagues Club and on the board of the West Tigers, which is now effectively 90% owned by West, as I understand it, hence me as a Balmain supporter wearing your colours because I recognise our masters. How is the joint venture travelling? And, as I said, the word ninth is the most disliked word in the English language as far as I'm concerned. Give us some hope, all the Tigers fans out there, for about where we're going.
Look, I think with a bloke like Michael Maguire on board, we're heading in the right direction. It's unfortunate that, he's had the legacy of Ivan Cleary. Oscar, I suppose. And,
legacy. Heinous.
I've just seen the team for the weekend, and I think Madge is doing some experiments.
Yep.
Trying to get the right mix of players, but as we saw, he wasn't too happy about last week. I don't think anyone was too happy about last week, especially the players, the way they performed. But it's a tough gig for Madge. I'm confident that we're on the right path. The merger is going very well, the joint venture. We're all in it together. We just want to make sure that we're successful. We're running 10th at the moment, so not 9th.
Yeah, it feels better.
We've got a few games to go, and I think we'll surprise a few people leading up into the semi-finals, which will be, I think, November now. So let's wait and see, hey?
Well, I think a tough draw means that they can take off all the things that are restraining them and play with joy, because that's what West Tigers football is all about for me. Look, Mick, I think it's been an absolute thrill to have you on today. I mean, I encourage people to get on Google and have a look at some of the action photos of Mick. You kind of epitomised the 1970s. I mean, you had the mane flowing, the moustache. I mean, it was hard to tell whether it was someone at the Altamont Rock Festival or actually playing rugby league. But I was a huge fan of yours, and I have to say, growing up, and I, as a result of today, solemnly undertake a special application to the High Court.
Yes, that
to
missing point.
See if we can get that point back and finally resolve the Liubinskas affair in the way it should have been.
If you guys can find that and resolve that through any legal matters, I'd be extremely grateful. And then what we might do is invite you guys to lunch.
To lunch.
We'd love to do that.
We've got a bit of work to do.
Mick Liubinskas, thank you so much for being on Fire Up's Quiet Australia.
Thank you, Mick.
Pleasure. That's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
See you later.
Cheers, boys.